Hi there guys, welcome back to BoxPred. Thank you for tuning in. In this video I'm going to be talking about the fight that was recently announced between Gennady Golovkin and Kell Brook. Now, since it was announced, this fight has garnered a lot of debate in the boxing world, so I thought I'd throw my thoughts out there. The fight's happening at middleweight. I believe Golovkin's titles are on the line and it's going to be in London here in the UK. Now, in the interest of honesty, I'll mention that when this fight was first announced, I didn't like the fight. And if you're a follower of this channel going back, you may be aware that I'm a great advocate for the correct use of weight classes in boxing. I believe that they're put in place not only for the safety of the boxers, but also to keep fights competitive. Unfortunately, because in professional boxing we have weigh-ins the day before the fight, weight classes are very much abused. But this is something that I'm fully aware of. I'm sure you are. Some people don't mind it. I hate it. I believe we should bring back same-day weigh-ins. And an example of this, and I believe it was mentioned on Hatman TV, which is a brilliant channel which I try and watch regularly. He mentioned that Hassan Dam Jakam who's a middleweight, I believe, is actually representing his country in the Olympics, which is obviously amateur boxing rules. But because they have same-day weigh-ins in the amateurs, he is actually fighting not at middleweight, but at light heavyweight, I believe. Which just goes to show that in the professional ranks, he's coming in way above middleweight to fight these other guys. But in the amateurs, he just can't do that because he just doesn't have the time to boil down and get back up. So, I just throwing that out there quickly. That's something that I fully believe in. Same day weigh-ins. Some people don't mind this whole craziness, and many would say that boxing has far worse problems. I'm fully aware of the problems boxing has. We do follow it blindly, unfortunately, but it's all for our enjoyment, I guess. So back to this fight. Like I said, I didn't like the fight, but I thought, I was going to make a video on it, and I thought, let me just take some time to think about this now and to try and gather, hear some people speak on it, gather a little bit of facts. And it's funny, I heard Steve Bunce talking about this, about Kell Brook specifically regarding this fight, and he was saying people are concerned about the weight difference, but in fact, Kell Brook is he walks around far heavier than down around welter where he fights, and actually he was saying that Kell will make this weight easily, and that his argument was Golovkin's not a huge middleweight, and that he thinks that the weight won't be such a factor because Kell might even come in heavier than middleweight, and that if you look at according to BoxRec, the size differential, there's not much in it. So really, looking at that, if you take those facts to be true, the weight may not play such a big factor. Where it may play a part is in Kell Brook's physical performance. It's going to be a bit different when you're fighting. Will his sharpness be affected by the increase in weight? Guys have gone up in weight before and they lose their speed, may lose a bit of stamina. Will his power carry up the weights? And these are things that Kell Brook relies on. His game is on reflexes, is on sharpness. It's on that little bit of slickness, that speed. And these are the questions that need to be asked. But after stewing on this and thinking about it, I actually don't mind the fight. My main gripe originally, and I still hold that, apart from the weight issue, which everyone may have had when they heard about the fights, like, wow, this is a bit of a jump for Brook in weight class. My main gripe, which I still hold, is on both fighters, and that's that I don't believe for a minute that either has fought the best in their division. And I'm sure you will agree, unless you really don't know a lot about boxing. I would rather see Brook fight Thurman. I would rather see Brook fight Garcia. I would rather see Brook fight Vargas, which was, I believe, mentioned, and then the deal was being looked at. I want to see unification fights like we have this weekend between Crawford and Postol. These are the type of fights I want to see as a hardcore boxing fan. The boxing purist, I want to see the fights in the weight class they're supposed to be at. I want to see Golovkin fight Jacobs. I'd like to even see someone like Erislandy Lara, although he's a light middle. I'd like to see him at middleweight fighting Golovkin because he's a very good fighter. I would like to see Golovkin against Miguel Cotto. The reason for that is, yes, Cotto will probably end up getting broken down and stopped, but while the fight lasts, Cotto, the guy with probably one of, if not the best left hands in the game, has that exact weapon, which is the main vulnerability of Gennady Golovkin, in my opinion, is that left hand. And I think that while it lasts, it would be very dangerous for Golovkin, especially with a Miguel Cotto who has a decent offense with a trainer like Freddie Roach in his corner. And I know, I take on board what you'll be thinking now. Everyone avoids Golovkin, you know. Nobody wants to fight Golovkin around the weight class. It's not a stacked weight class as it is, and the guys who are there don't want to fight him. How much can you blame guys when people just don't want to fight them? There's been the whole thing over Alvarez fighting him as well, fighting Golovkin, and we've got guys supposedly ducking each other. It just happens all too often in boxing. We know that. It's an old story. So, Kell Brook's in a weight class which it's been okay. Guys have been fighting each other now and again, but it's a pretty stacked division, and it has been for some time now. It's been up there with the best. So, but we've had guys not fighting each other. But I would like to see, I really would like to have seen Brook carry on, just going down his path. This came out of the blue for everyone, I think, this fight. But like I said, having time to think about it, I actually don't mind the fight. And I actually will say this. I think that if the weight isn't such a big issue, then this is an extremely competitive fight. And, potentially very tough fight, the toughest fight for Golovkin to have fought in. I'm not on the Golovkin bandwagon as of yet. I'm not on the Golovkin hype train. I think he's an extremely good fighter. He is definitely a force. His power is unquestionable. He is a good technical fighter, but he has his vulnerabilities. I don't think his defense is the best, and I think his defense is not that good when he's coming forward. And he comes forward a lot, as you know. And I think the problem with Golovkin is I struggle to give him a lot of credit because, listen, he took his title off of nobody and he fought nobody in his last fight. Okay, that says it all, really. He's not fought, in my opinion, he's not fought true elite fighters. He's fought fringe contenders. He's fought guys like Daniel Geale, Matthew Macklin. These guys, yes, okay, Geale was champion for some time, but they're guys who have been in championship fights, but they don't quite cut it. They don't quite make the A grade, or they fight the right guy to get the title, and they end up losing it because they're not the strongest of fighters. And also, I think he's fought guys who've been tailor-made for him. Daniel Geale, not the strongest of guys, a slick fighter, a tricky fighter, likes to move around a lot. But he was beaten. He was like Frank Bruno with Mike Tyson. He was beaten. You could see that before the opening bell. He was beaten before that fight began. Macklin being stopped, before when it came up against the elite Sergio Martinez and came up short. So, Martin Murray, probably the best guy at the weight the UK had to offer, but again, not a guy who poses any power threat. He has to go the distance to beat you most of the time. And to Golovkin, that's just, I'll buy my time, I'll go down the stretch. Even though Murray is a good boxer and he's durable, he got to him in the end. And I just, the last fight, Wade, I never heard of this guy. And I know boxing, and I never heard of the guy. I have been away from boxing a little bit since I stopped making videos about roughly a year ago, but that was not a guy who needs to be in a world title fight. And I just think more effort needs to be made. You can't keep making an excuse, nobody wants to fight me. More effort needs to be made. Go out of your weight division. If Kell Brook can come up to Golovkin, I believe Golovkin can go up and fight someone at super middle, where there's plenty of guys he could fight that would be stern tests and people who would be far more valuable on his resume. And yeah, you say fair play to the guy. He's sticking at his weight class. He's trying to unify. He's trying to dominate his weight class. But if no one's fighting you, then one above or one below, then okay, for the odd fight, just to keep it ticking over and to get some valuable fights in. But fighting guys, that's the thing. With Brook, he's got guys he can fight who are viable. He's got his Thurmans, his Garcias, he's got his Vargases, he's got these guys who would look decent on the resume. Now, if everyone was ducking him, I'd say fair enough. But I don't think people are ducking Brook. I think their fights are there for Brook. That's why I'm not trying to contradict myself. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. I'm trying to just say like it is, and try and I hope I've cleared that up there. But I really think Golovkin needs to have better opposition, and to see how they respond. Because it's all very well saying he's blasting these guys out of there, and yeah, he's beaten some decent guys, but not the elite guys, the top level. And they respond a little bit differently. The guys with experience, the guys who are actually elite fighters. Um, you know. Anyway, that's my thought on it. That's my thought on the matter. And Kell Brook certainly hasn't fought the best. I mean, his best fight by far was the title fight where he took the title. And since then, he's not fought. He's not really top opposition at all. I mean, Jojo Dan is, he's not world level, in my opinion. Kevin Bizier, he's not world level. These are fringe contenders. These are guys who, were never going to be anything special. They would have had to have fought the exact right fight against the exact right opponent at the exact right time to win a world title. And I don't mean to disrespect these guys, but it's just levels. It's the way it is. We have to be objective and speak the truth about boxing, or things get blurred and we start accepting these fights that are made. So, guys, I'm not going to take it much further. I just wanted to give my thoughts on the fight, and I branched off a little bit. Just a quick mention. I think that Danny Jacobs, I believe, probably doesn't want anything to do with Golovkin. I think that's to do with the fact that he was knocked out by Dmitry Pirog. And I was thinking this in my head. He probably worried about getting knocked out again. Although, let's face it, Jacobs, I would love to see that fight because Jacobs has a fight streak of stoppages running into the double figures now. Bear that in mind. You say Golovkin's got power. Jacobs has power. Like I said, his last double figure fights, 10 plus fights have been ended in him stopping guys. And maybe he's got that where he got stopped is in amongst there somewhere. But as a side, Dmitry Pirog, excellent fighter. What a fight that would have been. I think he's had back injury and he's not in the game at the moment, and I don't think he will be coming back because he's aging a little bit. That's a real shame because that guy could switch hit. That guy was truly technical. That guy had power, and he stopped Jacobs. And that would have been a hell of a fight with Golovkin. Now, that would be a fight I would have loved to have seen. And if you're still with me in this video, let me know your thoughts on that because it's a crying shame that Pirog is no longer around the game. That guy was really good. And I think, that would have been a great fight that could have been happening right now. But yeah, guys, they're my thoughts. I actually quite like the fight. I actually quite think it's weight issues aside. I think it's pound for pound, boxer against boxer. I think it's a very good fight. And just to keep, I know I'm going on here, but something else has popped in my head now. Something about power. And power is a very strange thing because when you talk about boxer's power, fighter's power, you think, his strength, physical strength, but it's obviously nothing. It's not necessary to do with that. Power comes with technique, with punch timing, with angle, with speed, with precision, accuracy. That's power. Power is all of those things combined into one. You don't need to be a particularly strong guy to knock guys out and get a good reputation for having power. What you need to do is have great punch technique and boxing technique and know when to throw your shots. You can't, anyone can get stopped if they hit at the right time, at the right angle, at the right precision, with the right speed and the right technique. So Kell Brook has that in his arsenal. Kell Brook's the type of guy. I always joke with people who say Amir Khan would fight if he fought Kell Brook. I said, well, there'd probably be a golf in class in favour of Amir Khan for several rounds, and then he'd get sparked out by Kell Brook, who would place a perfectly timed punch on his chin. That's just the way I would see it. I don't necessarily think Kell Brook is better than Khan. Technically, naturally, speed difference would be in Khan's favour. Hand speed, he'd probably get up a few rounds. and then he'd probably get knocked out because Kell Brook would figure him out and time him. And then the thing is, Kell Brook throws straight punches, nice straight punches. If you look at Carl Froch, let's compare two fighters, Carl Froch and Brandon Rios. Brandon Rios is in wars. He's up close. I've mentioned this on my channel before. He's up close, and he's with Alvarado, and he's swinging hooks close to the body. They're close up. They're right like this in each other's face, and they're swinging hooks. There's no real power on it. It looks terrible. It looks like guys beating lumps off each other. We do say that, but really, they're just arm punches. There's nothing behind them. There's no real technique. It's just two guys slugging it out. You've got a guy like Carl Froch fighting you. The countless victims he's had. Look at his fight against Butte. He's throwing straight calculated punches. He's throwing with technique and weight behind him, and he's waiting for the right time, and he's wearing guys down, and that's where he gets his power. That's where his power came from. He probably was, had a hard punch and a strong punch, but it was his technique. If Carl Froch was up close to you and he's swinging hooks and he's in tight, there's a place for that in boxing. I'm not saying there's not, but there's not the same power as if the guy is in front of you and he's giving you with a stiff jab and then coming through with a straight right. Klitschko had it right all along. It's those straight punches. It's that technique. It comes from the legs. It's from the legs and up through the body. It's the grit, the balance, the posture, and that all important technique. Something I think Kell Brook has, and that's where I think he gets his power from, and that's where I think that he hits you with a punch you don't see. And I think there's a risk there for Golovkin, who, like I said, if he particularly on the attack, Kell Brook is good when guys come forward at him. He'll make you miss, and then he'll come in with a straight shot, a straight right hand. Just something to think about. Just this is not a prediction video. This is just something to think about. Something I've been thinking about. Haven't viewed any tapes. I have to look at both fighters to get a more rounded decision and more rounded opinion. And I'll post a video closer to the fight, giving my official, thoughts on what I think will happen. But they're just my initial little thoughts that I had in my head about this fight. They're actually pretty competitive. So, another video out there. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for staying with me if you've lasted the 17.5 minutes I've been banging on. But I hope you've enjoyed the video and taken in what I have to say. And as always, please do let me know in the comment section below what you think, because I do read all the comments. I do value your opinions. I'm not a guy who thinks I know it all. Far from it. I'm a guy who values the opinions of the viewers, and I really learn a lot from you guys as well when you're giving your thoughts and your educated boxing experience and opinion. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. This is Box Pred. I'm out.